Merry Christmas, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, this is my last day before I take a couple of days break for Christmas, and then I've got a 8-day retreat. So
yeah, I saw that you're doing an online retreat.
Yeah, I do. That's it every
amazing.
Year. Yeah, it's sort of become a favored way to end and begin the year for me.
That's perfect. Yeah, I've been on winter retreats before. There's something about spending the long dark nights in retreat. It's kind of this invitation to withdraw, isn't there? Well, I mean,
totally.
We don't necessarily heed the call, especially when there's family and Christmas and cakes and wine and all that kind of business. But actually, in the dead of winter, there's this sacred. It seems like there's this sacred calling to just come in, be quiet. Just pay attention, let go. So the fact that you're offering that opportunity to people. How wonderful.
Yeah, it's just before we got on this call, I was editing. I'm going to, every year I also, although I didn't this year, so I missed 1 year, but I also offer a month of light in February. And I was just literally about to press go with that, but it's something, it's also in that same vein. It's like I take January as a quieter month for me personally. And then February, I tend to do like a month of meeting like 5 days a week or something with people. So it's sort of, it's sort of an inward time for me personally, but it's also a time where I like to sort of encourage everyone to take that inward stroke as well. So it's sort of finding the balance there.
Definitely. Yeah. I know. I appreciate that totally. Yeah. It's about how can you keep that movement alive in you and be honest and authentic to that, and encourage people to come on a journey with you, isn't it? As opposed to like being super activated. Like, what it's like in a summer retreat when it's a bit more energetic, a bit more playful.
Totally.
Yeah, maybe the winter retreats are a little bit more still. Hopefully. I mean, who knows? You never know, do you?
It's sort of it's something I've been really sitting with actually a lot at the moment, is sort of this thing of rhythms and needing of that advance and withdraw, that sort of sense of listening to those rhythms, not only collectively but personally, and also then more immediately collectively, as in with groups I'm doing or something like that, but just feeling the necessity to really trust those rhythms and be responsive to those rhythms as well. And that's something that feels quite fluid. I don't know about you, but it's just like it's not something you can like decide and then write every year this is what it is. And the human mind part wants to sort of have those sort of set rhythms, but actually I'm learning how to respond better. I don't know.
Oh, I feel you totally. I mean, it's that what you're describing is what I would refer to as wisdom, but like wisdom in a wider sense, your prajna wisdom. It's that wisdom that's non-personal, that is embedded and embodied in life as life, that knows how to live quite fluently and easily, and to respond naturally. Yet we told ourselves somewhere along the lines, I know better than that. And you can feel that immediately with that I know is this grasping, closing, solidifying around, well, nothing actually. We're not actually solidifying around everything. We're imagining that we're creating this strong agent of change, whereas actually all we are is change. And it just causes friction. Like, I mean, I'm putting it kind of glibly and simply, but it feels like friction, doesn't it? It's just like this struggle with life.
Well, there's the suffering. So you're orientating around an imagined way that it should be, and it's the should that needs to be let go of, and there's the suffering is released. It's not like reality is reality. Life is as it is. Change is the basis of that in many ways, and sort of just orientating around a false belief or should. It only creates suffering as far as I can see.
Well, yes. Yeah. And I think we can all, like anybody who maybe listens to this, but I know me and you, we both know that deeply, and then those moments when there is, people would call it flow, ease, grace, fluidity, whatever you want to call it. It's just simply this, isn't it? It's just simply this. And it's just so enriching and non-contrived and
Yeah, there's no second
heart
guessing.
opening. Yeah, exactly. But it's such, and what's so fascinating is that we can feel it a million times, that depth of connection and flow and grace and ease, and we can feel it as the very aspect of what we are on the deepest level, and yet our conditioning is so deep. It's like a lifetime, and I think this is what a lot of people disregard in this path of awakening. They're looking for the insight that will make all of this conditioning go away.
One and done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, right,
which is
tick box, we're good.
I know,
Everything's good.
and it's kind of beautiful in a sweet way. It's like, well, of course we want that, of course we do, but it's just not in line with truth. It's not in line with the nature of habit, the nature of conditioning, you know. So we just work with what we've got right in front of us. And I mean, I think, I know, you know, I follow your writing quite a bit. What I've loved about your writing this year is that, or I mean, maybe I'm speaking for you a little bit, but you can maybe explore, is that it seems like a lot of new, unexpected callings have arisen this year. And I've felt that in your writing, with you just turning towards witnessing and being, oh, I didn't see you until now. And now, well, the lesson's always the same, isn't it? Open, investigate, be curious, surrender, like all of those things that we think we figured out 10 years ago when we had that glimpse of awakening. and then life just keeps serving up this depth, you know. And so I've been very moved by, I'm always moved by the way that you write, but I think one of the reasons I resonate with you so much is just you've got this grit and humanity and authenticity. Is like, it is like love and light and peace and grace. It's also sinew and bone and gristle and struggle, and sometimes just a really awkward conversation with a loved one. Like, it's that as well.
It's all of it. It's like literally all of it. And I think like for me, the writing this year is like, I gave myself permission to sort of explore it in the written word, if that makes sense. Like, I've been doing, like, that exploration has been a huge part of my path, like all the way along. Like, I seem to learn things through the falling apart of life, like that. My biggest lessons have come through what I call them my phoenix moments. They're like through that descent, through the
rising through the ashes.
But descending into the ashes as well. It's like that whole process. And so, like, I seem to learn my biggest spiritual lessons in a very human way, in that it's like, it's through the difficulty that those insights and those openings come. And, you know, I've been offering that in a verbal sense with my groups and whatever for 8 years or so now, but the writing has sort of gone on the back burner because of that. And like, I think it was November last year that I sort of I got this sort of hint that I'd been getting for several years, but I finally got it, you know, like that moment where you went, oh, okay, that's what's going on. That the writing actually had to be a bit more front and center. And so it's almost like this year I've been giving myself, and by literally carving out space for that and time for that, like I've been giving myself permission to explore it in the written word, which is actually maybe my first love. It's sort of how I came. When I started, like, when this whole process unfolded for me, writing was the first way in which I processed a lot of this. And that sort of went on the back burner. And actually, it's been a sort of a full circle moment this year, coming back to that, actually, which is probably what you're sensing in the writing. That I'm sort of allowing myself to articulate things which, in some ways, through writing is the best way for me to articulate it.
Well, I mean, you can tell, like, as an observer, and someone who, I enjoy communication in all its forms, you know, and art, like, for me, it feels like creative expression, a type of creative expression. But through the written word, you can tell you have this fluency and this poignancy to just kind of like really condense truth, or not just truth as in like the absolute kind of non-dual truth. It's just like human truth, your human truth as well. And just a turn of phrase Like today I was reading something that you wrote the other day, and this one sentence is just so beautiful, if I can remember it. So this is why I'm closing my eyes. It's like a sacred unknowing which is not confusion but a deeper intimacy. It's like, oh yeah, Imogen, that is it. That is it. I just love, like, because when you feel a communication like that, you can, as a receiver of it, I can feel the truth in it. You know, I can feel exactly what that is, trying to communicate. And it's not just a pointing as well. I think a lot of the writings that we see and a lot of the communication we see nowadays is it's like this direct pointing to something. But actually you're almost doing like the opposite of that. You're pulling it apart is what you're doing. You're actually going unfold, like take it apart.
Come and sit here in this with me. I actually wrote a little bit about that the other day, of like, you know, and there is room for pointing. I think, like, actually that's beautiful that people point, and I do myself. But it is something about when when I'm writing, like I'm sitting from within that and sort of speaking from within it out and pulling that, hopefully pulling people into it. And there's a subtle nuance of that energetically, because it's not about, like you say, it's not about pointing from the outside in, it's from the inside out. And it's interesting because I've been trying to articulate this, and I'm not sure if I can do it today, but I'll give it a go. I'm trying to articulate something that I've noticed of giving time to this for the last year. And it's very somatic. And what it is, so I write. I don't think about what I'm writing. I just write. I sit in silence, and my computer is open because that's the most seamless way I can touch type, so I don't have to think about it. And I sit in silence, often with my eyes closed, and then words come. And then I read back later in the day. And what's interesting about the reading back is I've learned to somatically feel where truth is. Like, again, it's the first time I've actually articulated this, so I'll try and go there. But it's like I can feel just, and I'm learning to feel where the truth from inside of the experience is most alive. Sometimes words and phrases are there that don't make sense in the mind, but I can feel them. And sometimes just a single tweet. I don't edit a huge amount, but what I do edit is it has been becoming increasingly important, because it's about that feeling. And so maybe a change from an is to an are, or a be to a the, or, you know, like those kind of words. I'm learning how to somatically feel how they land in the system, from the system, if that makes sense. That's what
perfect sense. Well, you've articulated that beautifully, considering it's the first time you've done that. No, it's like, I'm totally with you. I feel the same. I think, because what, you know, if this process of awakening is anything, it's a letting go of this self-centered belief that we know best, and it's handing ourselves over to the truth of what we really are. Beautiful. Which is like I talked about, practitioner wisdom, but it's like this wider non-personal wisdom. So if you're writing from that place and then trusting that place to resonate with itself, then actually it not only does it write itself, but it edits itself, and it senses its own truth, you know. So actually we, as the individuals, we're not really involved in it, you know.
Not at all.
Other than
the scribe,
a vehicle for manifestation of it into the world, you know, which is, you could say, is exactly the process of everything that's ever been done by a human, realist, you know, like, because yes, we manifest these many varied lives of like words and family and relationships, but actually that the depth of what's moving us, it's not the individuals, it's not these strong stories, is it? It's this well, I liked when you said this unknowing, sacred unknowing, because actually I don't know what it is.
No, it's the mystery. It's the mystery.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, like, you know, we're constantly trying to grasp that mystery and pick it apart and understand it. And it's the paradox of we know it and yet we don't know it at all. Like it's like we know it, like
Absolutely.
we feel it, we know it, but we can't intellectually understand it fully, or something around that area.
Yeah, no, I agree. For me, it feels like I like the talk of potentiality, ground of being is used sometimes, but all of these terms don't really work. But what I like about them is, well, actually, no, this is the ground upon which knowing arises. So it cannot know it. So it is the aspect of potential that allows the potential for knowing. So the knowing can't know the potential it arises from, and maybe it doesn't actually do that, but this depth of truth is just so wide open. It's just so wide open, so available, so unlimited, unbound, that actually any kind of A plus B equals C, like sequential context-driven knowing, was like, yeah, well, we can do that. And that's the beauty of its freedom, is that it allows that completely. It's not contradictory. And yeah, it doesn't come close, really, does it?
No, it's almost like we have to almost talk about two different types of knowings, almost like the intellectual knowing, the understanding, let's say, of the mind that can grasp this. And then there's that knowingness. Like I use knowing and knowingness slightly differently, like knowing to signify that, because of course language is totally inelegant anyway, but like that knowingness to signal that intellectual understanding that can be gained in certain areas of life. And then that's knowing to me. And then there's that knowingness that is that sense,
experiential thing.
It's like the self-referral knowingness. I think that phrase, even I just got a memory of from childhood, so that I may have got that phrase from Mahesh Yogi.
Oh, really?
Influential thing, but something about that, it may not be exactly that, but it's that self-referral, that sort of sense of knowingness that goes beyond any conceptual understanding that the mind can grasp, and yet there is still a knowingness there, and that's the mystery of it all. It's like I know this more intimately than I know even this breath, even this this moment. I know this so intimately, and yet I can't grasp it in any way that is useful in terms of the conceptual overlay of life.
Oh, Imogen, beautiful. I feel you totally. So, and I use similar terms as well, because actually one thing that, like, the truth to which the likes of us point to cannot be known in that intellectual sense, and yet there is only knowing of it. Isn't
that crazy?
Because there is no experience that isn't knowing. Like I have never had any experience that hasn't been known as experience. Like it's all vitally such, isn't it? It being a sensation or a sight or a sound or a taste or a word. This is kind of what a lot of people talk about, the luminosity. It pours forth, it shines into experience as awareness. Like you said, the language doesn't really capture it, but it kind of points us to, there is a cognizance, like the Tibetan Buddhists talk about clear, cognizant emptiness, which actually to the mind does not work at all. It's like that's all of those things contradict each other, and there's nothing there that is cognizant of what. It doesn't really work, but actually that can be felt. There's no impediment to knowing. It's clear, and it's not actually full of anything, but it allows
everything.
This is where we hit that that hard wall. And this is why I quite like talking about and exploring death with other people, and also my own experience, because actually this is such a beautiful, very non-conceptual, very visceral truth that we've all experienced to some degree. It's like it's a truth of humanity that we've all seen to some degree, probably less in the West than most.
We're quite distant from it.
Quite a lot, but still it's touched all of us, isn't it? And it is just like this, it's this indelible truth of unknowing, as in like unknowing as in I cannot see beyond it.
Yeah.
All we see is this process, and an apparent stopping happens, although we've no evidence for that. Or we could, because actually the body doesn't stop, does it? The body continues to unfold and decompose, but there's an apparent, from this point of view, there's an apparent stopping. So we go, right, that's it. It's a hard wall. It's death. I understand it. But actually, the truth is, like, we don't know what's going on. But I really like just to open to that, just hold it in experience. Don't come to any conclusions. Just feel the fact that we are going to die, not in any kind of like mysterious, deathless, non-dual way. It's just like in a very physical way. This is gonna perish, you know. And I don't know.
Well, the body's going to perish, but that's about as much as we can say.
Exactly. And I don't, and that's all we've got.
Yeah.
And just sitting with that, the truth of that. And I think like what's beautiful about that is that we then get the opportunity to bring that curiosity to the people in our lives, because if we're lucky, and a lot of people might think of this as sadness, but if we're lucky, we get to be alongside loved ones when they die.
Yeah.
We get to experience that threshold, if there is a threshold. Well, whatever this is, we get to be an energetic witness without needing anything from people, if we're lucky. And I don't know about you, but when I've been through that experience, it's just so, talk about that wisdom that can't be spoken about. It's like just floods of it, you know, like the depth of wisdom of what it is to be here that I can't say a word about. In those moments, I felt it very, very deeply, you know.
Yeah, I've been present for a few loved ones' deaths, and immediately afterwards as well. And there's a very powerful, palpable sense of presence that happens. And, you know, it had quite a few sort of mystical experiences in those moments as well, where, you know, the certainty of life in the body breaks down quite easily. And you know, we had this sort of view that I was given as a child from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and it was the fact that that time immediately after death was a really important time, and a very important time of how you approach that time with people, with loved ones, with yourself, with the person who is passing or transitioning. In that is a very transformative time. And, you know, if we get sort of wrapped up in our self-centered sort of grieving process of what we're losing, that actually that can energetically be quite a bind to that transition period. So we were always encouraged to really help that person along in those moments, let's say.
How beautiful.
That transition.
And you receive this with like this wisdom and this teaching as a child, did you say?
Yeah.
What a blessing. What a blessing that is, because it's like totally counterintuitive to the Western way of thinking, isn't it? So actually to receive this strong message of openness, connection and feeling, when you've got a societal world of culture saying, no, don't feel, disconnect, wear black, grieve, you know, never get over, and continue to tell these maudlin stories of remembrance. And I think that's like you talked about that time afterwards. I think one of the things that a lot of us do is we carry this. It's like an imagined grief. It's not the actual felt sense of grief. It's an imagined story-led grief. We carry it with us all our lives, and we sit in bitterness. You know, we are embittered by it. Certainly in the Western culture. Whereas, like you're talking about, if we're able to open to the truth of feeling of what that is, with love in our hearts, it's powerful. It's deeply upsetting and loving at the same time. But then we are free to not forget, but live life fully. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that it's hard to describe, but I've noticed a difference between the way that the Western culture is encouraged to grieve, you know, and the way people talk about their loved ones once they've passed.
Yeah,
just
as
like,
if they're gone and it's done, or
yeah,
you're referring to a past. And
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
there's something much more powerful when you allow that grief to crack you open. What you
yes,
find is the
yeah,
love for them, the presence of them is still very much there. Is they're
oh,
not gone. They're not
yeah,
gone in the way that we associate too heavily with the body being gone. You can feel that love. That love is alive. It's right there. The
mm,
presence of them is right there.
mm,
And
mm,
it's like we hold that at bay in the West. I find like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
afraid to touch that. And
mm,
grief is, I think, one of the most powerful points towards love.
oh yeah,
We associate grief with loss, but actually, if you enter into a different kind of relationship with grief, you start to associate grief with love, and that's something entirely different. And
oh
the
yeah,
relationship only grows from there, I would say. That's been my experience. I just lost my dad this year, so I've got
oh yeah,
a
yeah,
personal
yeah.
uh you know
It's very
connection
alive for you,
process.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Mm,
and coming and going to this place,
mm,
allowing us to go together, because I feel it deeply in my life as well. And
yeah,
I think what maybe you can sense is what I sense when I truly allow my heart and my being and the energy of this to explore the living, dying process.
yeah.
Then actually, I've never felt more alive, which
That's
is
it. That's
so
it.
beautiful. So
Yeah,
beautiful is that
yeah,
actually the most, it's like this surge of living, loving, caring,
yeah,
and sorrow is just embodied, and felt so deeply, at the apparent point of the end of life. But actually, all the evidence is saying no. Like, all the evidence is saying no, nothing's ending here.
yeah,
There's no. It's, you're just getting, well, I mean, it depends, doesn't it? We need to. It's a deep practice, let's say, because there's so much insecurity and fear and conditioning about how we view this. I
mm,
feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to just meet the passing of a loved one with an open heart and receive that movement that you're talking about. I've also, 10 years prior, had the opposite experience
yeah,
of being so deeply not even deeply mind identified in a traditional sense, but just not equipped and not having the capacity to open. And it took me like that 10 years to actually
mm,
fully grieve and to fully feel and to let that move through me. And I can say now that, what you were just talking about, that living, loving energy of, it was my mother, in fact. So, like, of her, it's here. I feel it here, right now,
yeah.
right here.
Right.
It's right here. Yeah. But that was a long, 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 long process, of just stumbling around, fumbling, grabbing, denying, pushing away, like the traditional way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas actually, lost a loved one last year, and it was just, it was totally different in every way. And I felt held and supported throughout all of it. I didn't feel a semblance of negativity, really, or harm.
Mhm,
You could just tell it was entirely good, even though it was entirely rendering, like I was completely broken.
yeah,
But it was just so saturated in that deep love that you're talking about, that it's so self-evident that this is just all good all the way through. It's just like,
yeah.
it's pure and truthful. So it's
Yeah, the nervous system has to find the capacity to meet
mm,
the extremes of that
mm,
situation.
yeah,
Um, and I think we're really, really poorly educated in how to
yes,
regulate and be regulated, and sort of live with a wider open
mm,
view of life. And so that we shut it all down, we try and
yeah,
control it, we try and sort of manage these experiences
mm,
of life. And I actually was writing this morning, I haven't published it yet, but I was writing about this thing of being always called as a child oversensitive. And I think Was it you that wrote something recently about this, or someone? I saw someone
I,
write
I
that.
have I have written about something similar in the past. Yeah, about
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
absolutely,
but it's this thing of like, you're too much, you're too sensitive, you're this, and
absolutely.
it's taken me years to get over that conditioning and realize I wasn't ever too much. I was just
No,
deeply attuned to the currents of life that most people spend their life running from.
yeah,
And in making that wrong, I shut myself down increasingly. And this
mm,
whole process, these last decade, has been a process of opening that back up and learning how to sort of uh, live with that extra capacity that is already present in my system. And by not shutting it down, that capacity is strengthened in
yeah,
its ability to handle vastly varying degrees of experience without making it wrong. And actually, what I've seen in that is, it's not me that's the problem here. Well, it's not that anyone's a
mm,
problem, but
mm,
it's what people are bumping into when they say you're being too much, you're being
yes,
oversensitive, you're being
yeah,
this, is
yeah,
actually that they're bumping into where their system doesn't want to open to this.
exactly,
So
yeah,
I was writing about this morning, and
oh, beautiful,
it's really, we're so easily conditioned into feeling that there's a wrongness for feeling life deeply. And actually,
yeah,
it's the only way to live life truly, is
yeah,
to feel it in all of its depth and all of its breadth. And
yeah,
it gets you into real big trouble when you don't, is in my
ah,
experience. Physically, emotionally,
yes,
all of
yeah,
it. It really gets you into, certainly did for me. It got me in trouble on a mental health level, but
yeah,
also on a physical level.
yeah, me too, yeah, and actually, it helps. Maybe help isn't the right word, but I feel like blessed that actually this this human life, that this time around, I don't know if there's been others, but this time around, I feel blessed that it's had these difficulties, mental health difficulties, drug addiction difficulties, chronic pain difficulties, trauma, recovery issues, all of these, because actually it's done exactly what you just described. It's raised the stakes, for me to let go of and open to
Yeah.
like let go of that conditioning, that deep conditioning that is keeping us closed and reactive to suffering, and open to a life of fully felt availability. And if freedom is anything, it's that, isn't it? It's the freedom from the need to be any particular way. It's the
Totally. Yeah.
freedom to be with life in all of its wide spectrum. And actually, I think anybody, regardless of where they are on the path of awakening, they can feel in any moment that actually, just look at the scope of all of the experiences we've had so far. Is there any limit to this?
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to say that there's a limit to the capacity of life to create, to invent, to flow, to dance, and then that's just in the human body. Look to the heavens then, and like, oh, we've got like a literal universe of wonders, so like the evidence is really clear that there's this freedom, non-restrictedness, and yet we believe our safety is relying upon closing ourselves off, restricting ourselves from this, whereas all of nature's just saying open, 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 flow,
Yeah.
come with me, we know the way. We go, no, 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 no.
Well, I think it's directly correlated with where we put our sense of ultimate safety and stability.
Totally.
Like, so if we put our sense of safety and stability in something that is inherently unstable and which is the physical human body mind conglomerate, whatever you want to call it, then it makes perfect sense that there's this fear and this tightness that is needed to go, I've got to hold on to this, I've got to hold on to this. And actually, it's like where you discover a deeper ground, a deeper place of true stability and safety that isn't held within something that will die, will change, will transform, but it's known in the unchangeable. It's known in that which is truly stable, truly safe, to put your sense of it's not even identity, it's your knowingness of existence there's where that whole world of possibilities opens up. If there is a sense of what you're attaching that safety and stability, if that is in any way even a hint of the changeable is inherent within that, there's where I think we get into real trouble.
So beautiful. Yes, I mean, you might not know that you're doing this, but you're speaking pretty much the Buddha Dharma right now. This is exactly the terms that the Buddha would use. So he talks about that clinging to conditioned existence. So conditions, the phenomena, any phenomena that comes and goes, arises and passes, and that is the core of our suffering, is by attaching and grasping at those conditions to try and find security. We will always suffer. So the Buddha talks about recognizing our unconditioned, uncompounded, unborn, unmanifest nature. And that's where, well, it's inherently safe. It is not dependent upon condition, like our well-being is not dependent upon this is this way and that is that way. It's just, it's a deep knowing of truth, love, connection, and safety that's not dependent upon conditions. So it's so beautiful that, because I know that you're not a Buddhist practitioner, and we've got the truth of truth, isn't it? Like we want to taste it. It doesn't really matter
the words,
which way you come at it. It wants to shine in the world, and it's a blessing that there's the likes of you sharing that, because actually if it just resonates with one person once in your entire life, that's more than worthwhile. It's such a beautiful gift to give the world. And yet I know that it's resonated with hundreds of thousands of people in your life so far, and similarly in mine. And I just feel a blessing of that, being called to I don't know what I'm being called to do, actually. Just it's not called to do anything specific. It's called to, I would say, communicate dharma, but dharma meaning truth or the way, but I don't know what that is. I can't say communicate a specific thing. It's just
it's not that.
No, it's
a truth in each and every moment. It's a living, breathing. You see, I would use the word surrender. I would say a surrender to the divine. Absolutely. So it's for me, that's what it shows up as. It's like, I surrender my life in service of this.
Yes.
Whatever this means, whether it means working in the local corner shop or sitting here talking with you in this manner, it doesn't matter, actually, to me. It's like you surrender to this, and you see that life is going to use you in the way that is most beneficial for both the individual and the collective. There's not a separation there. It's just what is most useful, what is most necessary. And it's completely aligning yourself through surrender to the trust of God, the trust of the way, the trust of the divine, whatever word.
So lovely. Well, this is already just like making my heart sing. I just love it so much, because actually this type of communication, I would say more so nowadays, because non-duality seems to have been in the world online for quite a long time, these really kind of rigid structures have arose around it that have been shaped by a couple of things, but certainly the consumer nature of the platforms in which they're communicated, and also the human need to try and find safety in things, which is what you're pointing to. So if it's this world of delusion, self-centered delusion, is not fully, not just seen through, because that's what non-duality wants to say, you just see through it, but fully unbound from, worked with, let go of, met with love, integrated, all of those things. Unless it's done that, then we will try and find safe ground somewhere. And often that's views and opinions, and it's pretty much always views and opinions. So then you get this message which is really rigid, really quite brittle, not very supple. It's like this. But actually, if I rest too hard on a particular opinion, it will be obvious that it's not like that. So if I just say nothing, like if I do triple negatives and just like circle myself in, you could say nonsense, really, as in like it doesn't point anywhere useful, or sometimes it does, but like this circular language, like this is, you could say this is all nothing, manifesting as everything for no one. That's a term that I've heard a lot again and again and again.
And while I would say not untrue, it's not useful.
Well, if it's a view,
if
it's a view, well, it's not it. So actually, the truth of that is not there's nowhere to rest with that. I can't say that with any conviction, because I know that it's not that, but it might point us into somewhere. But if we start really shoring up on these strong views of what it should be or what it shouldn't be, it limits the way in which we communicate. And it seems as well, it almost entirely cuts off and kind of degrades the human aspect of the experience. It's like, okay, well, we can only talk about the divine, absolute, awake, like luminous being part of it. But then, like this morning, I had to go and take my car for an MOT, and they came back and said, there's loads of advisories, actually your car needs to be repaired. So there's a financial impact to that, and I don't have a lot of money. So that's a very real thing that needs to be met and experienced. But it's like, oh no, we can't talk about that. That's not divine. That's just the character in the story. It's like, but I need to get to work.
That's it too. Divine. That's the divine too. Like this is it. It's like, and I do have a bit of a beef with the modern day non-duality scene, let's say. And of course that's a massive generalization, because there's loads of amazing people and teachings and all that. But as a general scene that I see, that's my beef with it, is there's a subtle duality, ironically, in the non-duality.
It's not so subtle either. Like, I mean, I feel you totally. I feel you totally.
Sort of the denial of the humanness, and I'm like, but what is this then? If you're saying this isn't it, what is this? And I'm like, no, this is it too. This is a manifestation of the same divine that you're pointing to, that is transcending this world. But this world is it too. And yes, it's a temporary arising of it. You can't land there permanently. Sure. Fine. I have no issue with that. But to deny its existence or its importance, actually. So that's the thing for me, is it's like, oh, this is just the booby prize. We're just getting through this to get to the other side. And I'm like, no. This is it too. This is the divine shining in each and every moment,
absolutely.
not the booby prize. It's our humanity, our body, our world, all of this is the most eloquent way in which the divine teaches us. It is not a mistake. It's not, something to just get through, and this is your punishment somehow for the fact that you haven't realized your true nature. It's like, no, this is the vehicle by which we grow, we evolve, we deepen, we taste all the ways in which it's possible to exist as this form, and it's not a sideshow. It's not the booby prize. I said it's not.
Well, I agree entirely, but that actually takes a maturity of practice and a depth of practice that is not that doesn't align with instant wham bam thank you ma'am instant self-realization, which is kind of, it's found upon consumer ideals, that isn't it, is that there is something that is making me unhappy, and if I get something else, which is exactly what we're talking about the conditioned world, if I get something else, then it will make me permanently happy. Which is, so actually you see exactly the same message in like neo-advaita or modern non-duality teachings. It's no different from the consumer model that we've been fed since like the 1930s, 1920s. It's just like, oh, there is a thing, let's call it awakening, and if you get the thing, then you'll be fine.
You'll be good to go.
Exactly. But actually, as you speak really clearly about, and you live, this is what I see in you, you live is that it's not straightforward. Like, it takes time and patience, and it takes a lot of stumbling, a lot of fumbling. It takes support as well. We can't do it on our own. We need to rely upon others as a living being anyway, especially as a living being exploring the path of awakening.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that you're up front and center about that. You don't hide that. You're saying, well, actually, yeah, we could walk this path together, but actually, what if this path doesn't have an end point? What if this isn't a path to somewhere specific? There isn't a this is it, we've got it, which is what obviously a lot of the modern teachings are like. There's a prize, you'll get the prize, let go of the booby prize of humanity, and you realize the prize of non-dual realization. It's like, well, what if this is just a continual deepening, opening, with nothing but mystery? Like, there's no way of knowing.
It's interesting because I'm gonna maybe contradict myself here, but that's okay. It's both, actually, is my kind of view. Is there is, I can't deny that there is a point of no return shift.
Oh yeah.
And so both and the embodied lived reality of that is unending. So like for me, it is both. There is an aha, and that can come about suddenly or gradually, depending on the person and life. There is a recognition that opens up, that becomes abiding. I would use the word abiding, as in the center point of identity shifts.
Yes.
And that's a thing, as in, it's like, we can't just say that doesn't happen. It does. There is a point of no return, I would say, where the recognition, it's not intellectual, it's an experiential knowingness that I am not this mind body that I thought I was. And it's not a conceptual thing. That can happen conceptually. It can open up. Someone can understand that conceptually, intellectually. But I would say experientially, there is a moment. Again, that moment can be sudden or gradual. That's fine.
Yes.
But then there's the lived reality of that. And so I would say that it's the difference between sort of self-realization and self-actualization or self-embodiment. Like there's embodiment and integration, and then there's a recognition that happens experientially. Now, they're not neat and tidy, and there's no one size fits all, and there's no like sudden or gradual. It's a whole smorgasbord of potential experience that people can go through with the awakening process, as far as I can see. But to say it's ever deepening is speaking to me to the part of the lived reality of that.
Yes, totally.
And there is also a difference between recognizing yourself as a person, human being, body, mind, ego, whatever word you want to use, small self, and the recognition of your deeper nature. There is a difference there, I think. And it's the difference between what we started out talking about, like pointing to something or speaking from within it. And that's the shift. I would say there is a shift. Again, it can be gradual, it can be sudden. Yeah, fine. But there is a shift. There's a shift of what I would call the seat of who and what you are. The sense of who and what you are shifts. And that's a very real thing that as far as I can see. However, the lived reality of that's the unending, deepening, no end point, no. And so practically speaking, it nullifies the sense of I've got somewhere, because at that point, there's no person that suddenly gains this thing that they think they were after. So it's I don't know if I've completely been inarticulate there, but that's
wonderfully expressed, and I concur. Yeah, that's my experience as well. But what's really interesting, what becomes clear, is once that shift in identity is realized, as in, like you said, embodied, seen clearly, and it's just undeniable. You then get to realize, that's the beginning.
Exactly.
So now I can begin. Not I, but now this path of deep unbinding opening to truth, like that movement of allowing wisdom to move us, you know, that's where it truly begins. And you could say, well, that's not the case. There's always been a flavor of that that's brought us up to this point, as you know, as a
Absolutely, the
mind
whole
identified. Yeah,
process.
absolutely. But
At that point, you see it.
in experience, it's like, oh, now, because actually the depth of the unbinding of the conditioning of this body mind, it's so deep, so sinew cellularly enmeshed, that from the view of a self-centered being, I can't get there. I cannot feel it. Like, if everything is mediated through me, then the actual feeling of the internalized chronic shame, let's say, from when I was a child, the feeling of that is just not accessible, because what we get is these spurious maladaptive coping mechanisms and character traits that pour out as an identity with preference and behavior. So for me, as an example, could say addiction, drug addictions. I'm not saying this is universal for everyone, but in me, one of the ways, like the escape valves of the person that had all of this unseen, you could say conditioning, but wounds, emotional raw materials, sanskaras, you know, there's all these different terms, but it was so distant in a way from my experience. How it poured out through the individuals was through a head full of anxiety, a body that was riddled in stress, and coping mechanisms such as turning towards drugs. You know, that was how the individual, dealt with it. Once that individual is seen to be entirely fictitious, essentially, like once that's been let go of, that deep grasping of this is me, I think, things arise. They just begin to arise. But I think what I'm noticing now is that because the focus is so strongly in modern teachings about wake up, get to that first point, wake up, wake up. So many people are just left in the wind, really, with no real guidance and support, because actually, once this defense mechanism of mind that's been keeping all of our dirty laundry at bay, you know, like all of our secrets really at bay, once that's been pulled apart to some degree, these things just they impose into our lives. And a lot of people come to me, as I'm sure they come to you, just going, help, like I don't know what to do with this, and there's nobody is showing me how to do it. And actually, it's at that point when this cyclical double speak of neo-advaita and non-duality, just not only does it not help, it starts to become harmful, because it's like spiritual gaslighting, essentially, because people are coming to me, as I feel to my experience, saying, I'm feeling this deep toxic shame for when I was a child, and it is turning me inside out. I'm crawling in my skin. And then they will also say, and I've told this to people in support groups, and they said, well, that's not really happening. There's no one there. There's nothing arising. There's nothing to be felt. So, you know, like, it is gaslighting, is it, ultimately? Yeah. And they're just denying the truth of somebody's experience, as opposed to, you know, the movement of the awake, compassionate heart is to listen and feel. It's like if somebody expresses that to me, I feel a deep call into, first of all, be present, in presence, listen, open the heart, and see what arises. And what arises is always compassionate. It's always a movement of compassion for the recognized suffering in others. But yeah, there's so much of that, like, staunch non-dual speak, that it just meets this well of often traumatic conditioning, and it just makes people even worse, like pushes them into disassociation, maybe back into kind of relapse. It can be really problematic.
I mean, to me, we're talking about two different movements that work together, but have to be honored in their differences, though. So we're talking two truths here. We're talking, you know, the relative truth of the lived experience of being human in this body, in this mind, with this conditioning, and the truth that speaks to beyond that. Now, you cannot sort of mar one with the other. You can't sort of use tools that speaks to the absolute for tools that are speaking to the relative. And a lot of people don't recognize that they are not in conflict with each other. These aspects of being, they are a singular arising of being, showing in different forms. So you know, it's like the difference between a still ocean and a really choppy ocean, and it's like, you know, so to deny that there is chop going on in your life is exceedingly harmful to that aspect of life. Equally, you know, if you're only in the chop of life and don't understand that there's something that goes beyond that, you're just going to get caught up in all of that chop. And so there has to be a nuance of recognition there of what we're talking to, and we don't have to flatten it all out. And that's, I think that's the problem, is flattening it in either direction is
absolutely. So beautifully put. You used the word exactly that arose in me when you were speaking, was nuance. If this is anything like life, it's nuanced, it's subtle, it's varied, and it requires flexibility for both anybody helping or anybody receiving. We've got to be flexible and nuanced. And like you said, it's that, I think it's that lack of nuance, that lack of willingness to go in different directions that's resulting a lot of confusion, I think, a lot of the time. But and it's because, again, not to simplify too much, it's because nuance, subtlety, investigation do not get clicks.
No.
And
it's boring.
I know. Well, ultimately, certainly for the mind that is consumer conditioned,
wants an immediate result, and it requires patience, and it requires, you know, nuance requires us to unfurl and unpick and be willing to go deep. It's like, you know, people always, particularly my husband, joke about me, like I have these two modes. I have silence and then I have long form, and sort of not in between. I don't like people nickname for me. Here we go. Imi long form Webber is like a nickname that has happened in my life. And it's like, either you've got silence, so there's that sort of just completely not touching anything, not touching the sides, not touching any of life, letting it just all unfold and letting that silence do the work. Or there's the willingness to give life time to unpack and know the nuance of it. So that's why I like these kind of conversations, because it allows us to sort of get into the nuance of it. And everyone wants everything now. And,
absolutely.
And in that, we want nice, quick, bite-sized, aphoristic, you know, words, which, you know, I do that as well, but it's, we're not willing as a current set of sort of societal norms. We're not willing so much to get into that nuance, be patient enough to seek to understand in a nuanced way that allows us to really get to the depth of what's going on. We want next instead. And I think it's of great detriment, particularly for the human side of this work. You gotta be willing to not be goal orientated in that way. And not sort of say things in bite-sized manners, but actually allow yourself to be undone by what's happening. And that's not neat and tidy. That doesn't come in a nice bow and say this to do and all the rest of it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, I'm totally on board, because, well, anybody who's been through this for any significant amount of time with enough dedication to the path, you know, they come to this, it's not a conclusion, to this realization eventually anyway. They just, like, life has to, because no matter how neat and tidy you get it, life destroys it all. That's just what it does. Like, it is in constant solution to solution, you know, it just pulls us apart. And it's literally, as we talked about, passing away and getting ill, like, it will pull us apart in that way, so that you can't tidy that up. Like, the truth of that will be felt in everyone, but if we're relying upon these really clean, very precise ways of seeing the world that seem to offer freedom, when the juice and the mulch and the squelch and the bone-breaking sinew of like illness hits us, no amount of like pithy phrases is just not going to do anything. We're left in the same suffering. In fact, we will feel more lost, more confused, because this worldview, this structure that we've built up, and you can call it like being a successful businessman, or you could call it being a successful non-duality person. That worldview will get pulled apart by the truth of this experience. So actually leaning into that nuance and suppleness and openness, surrender, letting go, freedom, whatever you want to call it, that's the only thing that's going to meet the chaos of what it is to be a human being. But like you said, it's not easy. But luckily for me and for you and for others, that are other people that are genuinely on the path of want to give and want to share and support others, you know. And I've felt the support of others, like true, I was going to say warriors then. Maybe that's like not warriors as in like,
I
we've
know
got like that warrior spirit. I remember you talked about the path of the fiery heart the first time that we spoke. But yeah, the people that are really willing to take that exquisite risk again and again and again of stepping into truth, you know,
and go there and meet you.
And there are people out there, you know. So I'm grateful to have met them, and also I feel like I'm grateful to support people that want to take that step with me. It's like, like if you want to go wherever you want to go, I can stand right next to you and we'll go there together. And that feels like a blessing to have the chance to do that.
It really is. It's an honor. And what's interesting about that is, you know, because obviously I've had those that have done that for me, and I offer that to other people too. And what I've noticed in that is both sides of that equation. It requires you to go to places that are unexpected, and also often places you don't want to go. And all it kind of requires is the willingness to go there. You know, it's like, in that you may not find yourself ready. Let's say that there's been moments where you hit up a wall, but just from that sense of willingness to go there, that carries you through those moments of where you feel completely lost, where you don't like where you found yourself, for instance, whether it's supporting someone else or being supported.
Absolutely.
You know, you find yourself in those places where you feel like, I've hit a wall. I don't want to go. I can't go any further. This is uncomfortable. And it's like somehow that willingness, that openness, that surrender to whatever comes, I'm there. It sort of carries you through those moments. And so doing this work, supporting other people, I constantly having to go there for myself. And also being supported by others, I go there too. And so it's like, you know, at some point you've got to realize that that is the gift of life, not something you've done wrong, that you're meeting those aspects of life. It's a really beautiful thing, and it's a really beautiful thing to provide that for other people as well. Because there aren't an awful lot of people that are willing to do that, actually. To go to wherever life needs to lead you. It takes an awful lot of courage, and courage is only found where there's a willingness to break. You know, if you're like, I don't want to go here, that the courage, it's very difficult to come by then.
I love it. Just like that beautiful turn of phrase again, that courage is only found where there's a willingness to break. It's exactly it, isn't it? It's like actually that patriarchal view of courage as being the one who dominates and succeeds over, which is actually just, it's cowardice disguised as courage. It's like actually life, the truth of life, it's not deniable. But that type of male kind of patriarchal courage, no, I will deny life. I will be life's conqueror.
Master,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, see how that goes. Ultimately, let's see how that goes. Or like you said, just have you got the courage to break? Let it all break again and again. Or have you got the courage to ask for help when it's breaking? That's one of the most difficult things. It seems, I think, probably more for Western people. Like it certainly was for me. I don't know about for you, but
yeah, big one for me too.
Yeah, and this relates to a lot of people that have been maybe had adverse childhood experiences or like complex trauma, is that you have to become a survivor. You rely, because there's no safety in the people surrounding you in the world, you have to be the provider of your own safety. It's an adapting mechanism. It's very beautiful. In fact, it keeps us alive. But then when we start to outgrow it, a big part of freedom is letting go of that limiting thing that says, I have to do this on my own. I'm the one that has to look after me. It's that deep courage to say, Imogen, I really need some help. And because there's that exquisite risk I talked about before, is because in that is a risk, isn't it? There is the risk that you just say, no, screw you, I'm not interested. Or look how weak you are. You're not the person I thought you were. You will no longer get support and love from me. Our friendship is terminated. I mean, realistically, that doesn't happen so often. But the mind, even if there's a 1% chance that might happen, we just shrink back in. So it's, I mean, I felt that so many times in my life, even recently as well. I've having done so much of this work and open to such a wide degree, actually life just keeps giving you the situations that you need to say, okay, now you get to go to this deeper level of holding that you couldn't even see before. And there's nothing quite like you said, illness, or for me it's been illness, like physical chronic pain has been a gift in a lot of ways. It's allowed me a depth of clarity, wisdom, connection with people that shame wouldn't allow me to have, actually.
Beautiful. I love that.
Well managed, awake shame, which I think so many people carry, because it's oh no, I am the in control awake one.
Yes, I should be over this.
Or even I won't even see the shame, because actually I'm so awake. And this isn't being critical. I think it's a defense mechanism on the path, is because that shame is so fundamental and deep, is that actually if the shame arises normally in relation, what often happens is, oh, that's because that person's not seeing things as clearly as I'm seeing them. I'm seeing things clearly. They can't be seeing things clearly. But actually what they're doing is they're pointing the way. They're showing us, oh, maybe look here, maybe look here. Whereas actually what I've noticed is that, the only way for this process to continue to deepen, for clarity to continue to clarify, for the heart to continue to open, is for the shame to just pour itself out into the world, even though it's the last thing it wants to do. It wants to hide. It wants to hide, and yet there's the knowing that it's the revealing of it that is the healing of it. By showing my vulnerable, disgusting, icky bits to the people that I think I can trust. I think, and that's it. I don't know, but I think I can. By doing that, it's such a powerfully rewarding and liberating experience. But I think the tricky thing is it can go wrong as well. It can go wrong. And, it can go wrong either in that I take the risk with friends and family that either don't have the capacity to be with it, or they're coercing me in some way, or to a spiritual teacher that really they've got their own shame thing going on and they want to be in a position of power. So that's they can go, oh great, here's someone to mold into a disciple. And I think
it's someone to fix, and me be the one that's the one that's going to do that.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure what point I'm making, but
no, but it's a beautiful point of the fact that we can't do this alone, and nor should we want to. And to me also talking about this thing of, you've got dependent, you've got independent, and then you've got that interdependence, that for me that's what you're pointing to there, is we're not an island, and we are not the beauty of life on this level, let's say, is you know, it's all a mirror. It's all a way in which the divine is sort of meeting itself through different aspects. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of people who can sort of really relate, and I know I personally can, to like what you're saying there about, you know, needing to share and needing to open yourself up to these areas of yourself that, you know, want to remain hidden, but actually need to be brought into the light of day. And the trickiness of that, and who we share with and how we share, and the dynamics of what can happen when we share with the wrong people, and all of these kind of things, you know, that's a whole minefield. And actually, you know, an important thing that I think needs, you know, to be brought out into light, the possibility of that, and how, you know, how to learn how to trust, you know, where we are holding back because we don't want to be seen, or whether we're holding back because actually it's appropriate, and there's someone there that is like, and I'm learning this for myself, like to learn my intuitive spidey senses, I call them. Like, you know, like that sense of when there's someone who is safe to share with, and when it's actually just a mechanism of hiding something for myself, like knowing the difference there is really critical. Because, and you kind of, this is the funny thing, I think, at least, is you kind of only learn that by making mistakes. Or at least I did. Obviously.
Well, because if you're not willing to take the risk, you will never share a thing. Essentially, you will never open up. So you have to take that risk. And the very nature of that means that you're not going to get it right all the time. Or I think what can be really powerful as well, which at the time doesn't feel like such a liberating thing, but, you know, this vulnerability comes into the world with, let's say you're the trusted person of choice that I want to share. Say, Imogen, this is what's going on for me, and I really need some support. And you burn me. You know, you just actually burn me, and you just, to greater or lesser degree, what we often, it hurts, but then we often find out afterwards, and I'm still here. And it's okay. Like the worst thing that could possibly happened. And actually it didn't damage me that much. I'm not saying that we should always take these, you know, wild risks. I don't mean that. But I think we learn that our capacity is much greater than the shame tells us it is. You know, that shame that wants to stay small says everything is maximum risk all of the time. Whereas actually what we realize is, though, most of it's fine. Like jumping in front of a train, okay, that's high risk. You know, hang gliding, I mean, risky. You know, more risky to your health than speaking your truth to somebody. And like if you're anything like me, the internal sense of risk in just showing that vulnerability to someone, it feels like life and death sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not. And actually, you know, as long as we're mapping our life to comfort, that's where we go. Risk is a bad thing, and it's like, actually no, risk is where you learn, risk is where you grow. And it's not, again, you're pointing to very different risks there. You're like risks in a, you know, sorry, my voice, a sense of a human, you know, jumping in front of a car, you know, like that kind of risk, not good. But there are psychological risks, you could say, that we're unwilling to go towards. And it's not a literal physical risk. It's a risk of going to somewhere that we want to stay away from, and we want to stay in comfort. And for me, the spiritual search actually requires us to not go for comfort, but go for truth. And when you go for truth, and so there's a certain turning point where almost like the compass point changes from that comfort, which is the sort of egoic comfort of trying to stay safe, to that risk, which is that truth, that the compass sort of turns towards truth, and it goes, oh, truth is more important than comfort. And that what truth requires is risk being completely wrong, risk going into an area and feeling like a complete fool. You know, all of these things they'll teach you something. And if you're orientated towards truth, that lesson is fruitful no matter what it is. Of course, we don't want to get ourselves into situations that are dangerous, let's say. But what we're really talking about here, to me, is not situations of danger in the physical sense. We're talking about a possibility of some aspect of ourself being broken open and seen in a different light. And that risk is a risk that not many people are willing to take, but a risk that's worth taking, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's the direct antidote to self-centered delusion, isn't it? So like, because actually that delusion is that I am in competition with everything and everyone else, you know. So actually, by taking that risk again and again, it's not competitive. That's the very nature of opening and like willingness to break. It's not in competition, it's in collaboration. It's a movement of connection and participation with life and with others. So just that, if we make that skillful habit of opening, participating, collaborating, and we bring that same collaborative, connecting attitude to what arises within us in those experiences, because actually shame can sometimes want to double down. It's like, oh, it didn't go well. No, that means you could never have taken the risk. It's like, okay, well, how do I meet what arises? The pain of, let's say, loss, or the pain of a loved one walking away, you know, how can I meet that pain with the same open, collaborative, connective spirit? You know, if we're able to do that, like you said, that breaking open breaks open again. It's like the breaking open breaks itself open, and then it's just like just like this continual, well, it's love, it feels like love, but not love in the transactional sense. It's this this infinite's not even quite the word, but it does kind of point to it a bit, like this infinite capacity of availability for whatever is right here. And it, like you said, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful aspect of life. Once you tap into this, it's like a wellspring of joy, connection, love, and meaning, that because it's not dependent upon conditions, it's unconditional, which means that I don't have to rely upon anything for it to be available. It is availability. So it's just like, oh, what? That when that starts to really sink in, and you can understand it a bit, but when you start to feel it like flowing through life, this is where that deep divinity, gratitude, heartbreaking joy of life just rises in our being. I feel it's like that movement to kneel, essentially. Like when you feel it, you just kind of, you feel like, not in a forceful way, but guided to your knees. You feel guided to prostrate on the floor and be like, and to recognize that I don't know what this is. Thank you.
Yes, I wrote a piece, it was in my first book, and it was like, to whom I bow. And it's that, it's like, you know, like you talk about, you know, prostrating, and people assume that there has to be a sort of an object of prostration, but it's actually the subject of prostration that's really you're talking about there. I feel it's like that overwhelming sort of outpouring of gratitude and love and reverence and recognition of the beauty and the goodness of life, that is an outpouring. And it doesn't matter who you're bowing to or what you're doing, or, you know, none of that matters. It's the movement that is being sort of surrendered to in that moment, that I would say is the natural fragrance of this surrender to the movement of life. It has that fragrance, it has that sort of that taste, that essence, that fragrance of gratitude, of love, of profound recognition of just how magnificent and intelligent life is, in the way it teaches us to know ourselves deeper and deeper. Even through difficult experiences, especially
I think,
and that's the thing, that's very hard to talk someone into. You can't convince someone of that. That you can't say it's all right, go through this and you'll
No,
feel
I
gratitude
know.
and it's all going to be okay. And it's like, no, they have to taste it for themselves. They have to
Absolutely.
taste that
Yeah.
actually. And this is what I mean. Like you take those risks, and through those risks, you learn through direct experience how life is constantly guiding us intelligently to a deeper understanding of the nature of life. But, unless you've been through it, you can't say, no, turn towards the bad thing. Don't turn away from it. You can't convince someone of that. They can have a hint of it, a sense of it, a knowingness of it, I think, a sense of, what you speak of, I can resonate. I can feel the resonance of that.
Yeah.
But you can't intellectually talk someone into that, in my experience anyway.
No. And this is, I mean, I again, we're feeling exactly the same thing. And this is where the role of community and connection and spiritual friendship plays such an important role, doesn't it? Because it just is easier together,
Yes.
like when we're together, to be able, we can support each other in that exploration. And when we feel supported by those around us, and especially those around us that we can trust, like there's an authenticity in their going, I would call it a going for refuge, going for refuge to the truth, whatever truth is. But yeah, if you can feel the authenticity of their going for refuge, then you're encouraged to take that same path
There we
of
go,
refuge, So, and I know you will feel that in the retreats that you lead, is like, actually, there's this reciprocity. We're mutually creating the conditions to support each other to turn towards this. And it's not, there's no set thing that you can do. It's beyond plans. It's this wisdom that, I think it's a wisdom that lived in us much more naturally when we lived in smaller communities. It's like a lost wisdom that is not necessarily spiritual as we would look at it now. I think it's just a deep part of being a living, feeling, present human being that we've had for tens of thousands of years. And it's only in the last few, like 800, 900 years, that it's kind of been decimated and obliterated into these isolated lives. But when you see, and I've seen it a few times, communities of people living together, this collective wisdom comes to the fore. It doesn't belong to anybody. You can't pin it down. Yeah, it knows how to support itself through love and connection. It's like, oh wow, it's a real, but it's vanishingly rare that you get the opportunity to witness it. Like there's hardly any of those communities that live, and I think we get a flavour of that in retreat. I know you probably had a little bit of that. I know I have. Is that in retreat, when you feel that deep coming together of a group of people, this combined, supportive, connecting movement that is not personal but is felt personally, just brings something way greater than some of its parts.
It does. I think it's interesting because I do mostly online stuff, but I've also done in-person stuff. Increasingly, I'm doing in-person stuff, and I feel a qualitative difference between those two things. But even the online, it's incredible. I call them retreat bubble. It's like there is this collective, like you say, it's bigger than its parts, bigger than any one individual. And it's like the coming together, and that creates this collective holding. And like, for instance, I'm about to do an online retreat. The 8-day thing is like, even if people miss sessions or are only coming to part of the retreat, like I say to people, just be aware that you are part of this collective energy, this presence, this holding. Even if you're going about your day and cooking your dinner or whatever, it's like you can use that bubble, that sort of presence, that retreat energy, that collective nature of it, to really support your own growth, even when you're not literally in the same room or online in the same space. It's still available, and so these spaces, these retreat bubbles, or whatever, these communities, this collective consciousness that comes together, like, is a really, really powerful tool. I think it's underappreciated and underutilized, actually.
Oh yeah.
People often come, like, because I do meditations and stuff as well, and people come and I think they assume they're coming for me or for the transmission, and that's part of it. And I'm not deny that aspect of it, but there is this collective consciousness. It's this thing in the Bible where two or more gather. It's that feeling, that sort of turn towards that is actually a very powerful part of the spiritual process. And I know that in Buddhism, you know much more about this than me, but the Sangha is part of that.
Oh yeah, it's a sacred jewel, and and so later Buddhists talk about the bodhicitta, the arising of the bodhicitta, which is the awake heart mind, but actually that's a collective experience. It's not the arising of a bodhicitta for me here, it's being part of the arising of the awake heart mind. And actually you feel like what you've just described is exactly what I feel in when I'm in communities of people with an authenticity of practice. I can't say anything about it because it's so mysterious. It's like, if you think awakening was mysterious, you might like, this is like one step. It's like, I struggle to say anything about it more than what I've said, is that, I can witness that there is this arising, and it is wise beyond anything I can imagine. And it is not confined to the individual. In fact, it is necessarily not individuated, yet it supports the individuals, and it seems to gather momentum in community. Like, but all of that is a big question mark. Is everything I've just said is like, what is going on exactly? I don't really know what that is.
Above our pay grade.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that is. I mean, I think when the heart's open and we are receptive, there's just such a rightness to it. It's a felt. That's the knowing that you were talking about before, the experiential knowing of truth and rightness and love and connection. It's just so undeniably felt that it doesn't really matter what's going on. You just let that take you. Just let that. The wisdom knows the way. It's so wise. It knows the way. We don't need to know the way. Let the wisdom take us along the way. It's like, oh yeah. I think, it's just so interesting, isn't it, that actually that should have been, and still is, our birthright. But actually, we would have been born into those communities naturally. And I'm not romanticizing the tribal communities being like there's never any animosity or anything, but there was definitely much deeper access to this collective beneficial wisdom that is very hard to come by in a city, like where everybody's just segmented and blocked out, and like they don't see any nature. Everything is just kind of straight lines, and they're being poisoned to death by fumes. Like, that's very difficult for the community wisdom to arise, isn't it? So but I don't want to get too political about Buddhism.
But it's a spiritual thing as well. As like, like spiritual awakening has become quite selfish. It's all about the individual awakening.
Exactly.
And actually, to me, that's just the first stages of awakening is the personal liberation, let's say. Eventually every aspect of life has to be included. Absolutely. And that has to include the community. And so it's all well and good going, I'm going to awaken, I'm going to be liberated, and it's like, yes, but that's what is the sense of the personal is what gets liberated. And then from that point on, it's no longer my suffering and their suffering. It's just suffering is. And so it's like, from that point of view, it's like, again, we're talking about true truths here. Like, yes, there's a me, there's a you on a certain level, but also there's something more that is neither me or you that is here between us in this conversation. You can feel it. It's like, it's not just about me, it's not just about you. There's an underlying presence of existence, an intelligence that is at play here, that because we're becoming so individualized culturally, we are ignoring that aspect of relationship. Like myself and my husband, we always say there's me, there's him, and there's us. Like there's three sort of experiences here that are happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we can too much focus on the individual experience and forget that there's a collective relating that is just as important here.
Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful though, the chance for, like you just said, the chance for us in this conversation to allow that to move through us? Because actually, when we reside in present open awareness as such, this wisdom wants to collaborate with itself and communicate something, because I don't know what we're actually talking about. Like I can't remember.
Yeah, same.
But I feel, and it's so interesting. It's like the free will conversation that goes on quite a lot, and it just kind of gets reduced into there is or there isn't. It's like, well, actually, there's no doubt about it that there's no individual free will, and there's also no doubt about it that we are fully participating as individual. Like, to the degree that I am an individual, I'm not out of the situation. It's not like
there's the appearance of free. Our language I use is there's the appearance of free will, and that's the personal, individual sort of choice sense of it. But there's an underlying recognition that even that is the presence or beingness of life playing in the way that it has to in this moment, which looks like choice.
Yes, it's like, I think it's that binary dualistic way of saying free will or no free will, and then the truth says not to. It just says that's advaita, isn't it? No, it's not to. That's not the way it is. So those arbitrary divisions, that's the delusion.
There it is. Yeah,
it wasn't the division. The sort of conversation of whether this is me making choices or you making choices, or it's none of that. Well, actually, it just doesn't apply. It's not like that. It's like this, but I can't say what this is like, but I can live it fully. We can look, we are living it fully. And the sense of collaboration and participation when you're in connection like this, it's undeniable. Like it is different in taste and flavor and quality to the me sitting alone experience. It just, there is some, it's just so beautiful. So for that, I really, really appreciate you spending the time with me today. It's just brilliant. Yeah. And for everything that you share, I think we definitely need more. Maybe need's not the right word, but it's a benefit in the world to have more people just sticking their heart on the sleeve, talking about awakening and talking about humanity, and also not saying, I know the answers. It's like saying, I don't know, let's walk this path together.
Exactly.
You do that so beautifully, because what it does is it encourages me to walk alongside you. It's just, so Imogen's willing to explore. Let's explore together. And I love that. And I love that you keep putting that into the world in so many different ways. So thank you.
I really love that you see that, actually, because I don't know whether that comes across sometimes, but that is fully my intention. Is like, I'm not trying to sit here and say I've got all the answers. In fact, I don't feel like the more I go on in life, the less answers I feel I have. And people come to me and I'm like, I don't know, but we can look at the questions together. We can explore. And to me, there's nothing more joyous than that exploration. It's not about me knowing something and you not, or someone knowing something and me not knowing that. It's like it's the exploration itself reveals truth. I'm not attached to what gets revealed. Like, if you come and I don't care. Like I'm in it for the exploration. I'm in it for these kinds of conversations like we're having today, where we can just, it's not about having a certainty here. I didn't come into this conversation knowing what we're going to speak about. Certainly haven't left the conversation knowing what we're speaking about either. But it's the beauty of that meeting and being met, and just allowing it to unfold the intelligence of life, bringing forth this moment, these words, and the response and all of that, that's life to me. And all it requires is us to step out of the way of ourselves, actually, like to step out of this sort of small me selfing of like controlling and how do I look and what am I saying and just allow life to flow through you unimpeded. And that, like, there's a joy. I feel it in my body. You know, I feel it in my body when I'm writing, when I'm speaking here with you, like, you know, like just to like it's a felt visceral experience that feels so natural and so joyful and so alive. Like when you just like, I don't care about, you know, this self and this role and this person and all of that stuff is not that's not it. That's like, to me, like there's so much more available. There's so much aliveness, so much joyful aliveness that is available when we just, again, the word risk, you know, you brought that word so beautifully to the forefront at some point in the conversation. And it's like, it's like to risk that, to risk being seen in all your glory, in all your light, in all your mess, in all your human divine beauty. Like, to me, there's something so joyful about that, and I love it. So thank you for having this conversation with me.
Yeah. Well, what a beautiful way to end our conversation. It's just like just basking and soaking in a bit of joyous felt experience. So Merry Christmas as well. Like it's kind of enjoy your few days off.
Yes, you too.
And I'm sending you lots of love. There's no doubt we will be speaking more, because why would we not? Why would we not?
I agree. This is really lovely. So
look after yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you soon, Imogen.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.